This is the Porter's Five Forces model. The Porter's Five Forces model is a widely accepted model that recognizes five key factors that can lead to a business getting a competitive advantage over another business. And the five factors that determine this are the buyer power, supplier power, threat of substitute products, threat of new entrants, and the rivalry among existing competitors. And a competitive advantage is the ability of a firm to outperform in their respective industry. In other words, this means a firm earns a higher rate of profit than other firms in the same industry. The buyer power is the bargaining power of buyers, aka consumers, in an economic transaction with businesses, aka producers. For example, if a buyer has multiple businesses to choose from, then this increases the buyer power of the consumer, since the businesses will be forced to decrease their price, since at least one business will decrease their price to increase demand, forcing the other businesses to follow suit. And the five factors that determine the buyer power is the number of customers, the size of each customer order, the difference between customers, price sensitivity, buyer's ability to substitute, buyer's information availability, in other words, information failure, and switching costs. The supplier power is the bargaining power of the suppliers, aka the producers, in an economic transaction with buyers, aka consumers. For example, if there are a limited number of suppliers, then there will be less competition, increasing the supplier power of the business, since they can charge higher prices to the consumer since there's no substitute products. This is how you would get a monopoly. The factors that determines supplier power is the number and size of suppliers, the focal company's ability to substitute, and the uniqueness of each supplier's product. The threat of substitute products is the number of different products that are an alternative to other businesses' products. For instance, a consumer may have many options, as in alternative options to what they usually buy, as in substitute products, such as a car, which they may usually use. They could instead use a train, bike, or bus, which creates problems for the car industry since there's more competition. The factors that contribute to the threat of substitute products is the number of substitute products available, the buyer's propensity to substitute, the relative price performance of substitutes, the perceived level of product differentiation, and switching costs. The fourth variable to determine the Porter's Five Forces model is the threat of new entrants, which is the potential of new businesses is entering a market, hence damaging existing businesses in the market. For instance, more firms entering a market will increase competition, which forces existing firms to decrease prices. The factors that contribute to the threat of substitute products is barriers to entry, economies of scale, brand loyalty, capital requirements, cumulative experience, government policies, and access to distribution channels. Now I'm going to explain some of these factors. Government policies is in relation to this can mean maybe regulations which forces a business not to enter a certain market. Capital requirements is basically pertains to investment, such as a firm needing a certain amount of money to invest in certain capital machinery or to invest in R&D to make their products good enough to sell in the first place. Economies of scale is average costs falling in the long run. I'll go into that in future videos. And barriers to entry is the blockade for a business into entering a market. This could also be regulations and intellectual property rights, which link to government policies. Well, other government policies could also be the breaking up of monopolies, but that's for another time. The final factor is rivalry among existing competitors. where the presence of alternative businesses to another business forces them to compete to get the customer to buy their products. And this would manifest with a higher concentration of businesses being forced to lower prices. And as you can see, this is the common theme amongst competition. The variables that affect the rivalry amongst competitors is barriers to exit, industry concentration, brand loyalty, quality differences, the number of competitors, the diversity of competitors, switching costs, and industry growth. Finally, we're going to talk about the different strategies to gain competitive advantages. The different ways is cost leadership, differentiation, niche strategy, altering the industry structure, creating new products and services, and improving existing product lines and services. Thanks for watching, and if you like, comment, and subscribe.